Today, we're taking this busy mountainside city page from Imagimorphia, using some negative space and a non-traditional color palette, taking it from this to this. So stick around. Hello colorists, welcome to PencilStash, a weekly show all about coloring. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing to get all the new content, and be sure to hit that like button if you're enjoying my videos. Hey there, Pencil Stashers! I know I've been MIA for the last 2 weeks, and you'll have to forgive me for that. Unfortunately, YouTube does not pay the bills, and I have been crazy busy at my day job, but I am back. And in the last 2 weeks, I have been tackling this page from Imagimorphia, which is quite intricate and has been keeping me busy. There's lots and lots and lots of opportunity to pack in color and detail on this page, so this one has taken quite a long time. But let's jump right into it. Now, something about the mountains on this page were really speaking to me. That's actually why I chose it. And I thought it would be really fun to do them in an unexpected, non-traditional color palette. So we're going to go with some great pinky reds for our mountains today. We're also going to be incorporating some negative space, meaning some space that we'll be leaving uncolored. So it'll kind of read as like white, snow-capped mountain tips and spines. So starting with henna, we'll leave a thin line of negative space, and then we'll just be putting this henna color down beneath it. And I know I sound like a broken record, but always using nice light pressure, allowing for later feathering since we will definitely be adding more color. Next color we'll be using is raspberry, and we'll just continue kind of down the face of the mountain, continuing right where that henna left off. And don't forget to overlap them a bit, feather them together to create a nice seamless transition. Now we'll do the same with this Tuscan red color, which is much deeper than the two previous colors, but we'll use this to line those sort of hash lines that the artist gave us, those sort of parallel lines. And with this, I'm going to use a circular or kind of an orbital stroke, nice and tight circular strokes, which will actually make it easier to transition into the other colors. Kind of takes away that brush stroke kind of look. You know, we'll be able to see our strokes. And since this color is a lot darker than the previous, don't worry if the transition line is a bit harsher than you'd like, as we'll be blending this out in just a bit to help that along. Now real quick, I'm going to go back in with both my henna and my raspberry just to touch up some areas, going over those areas of transition just a bit more. Now we'll use our blender, and I'm starting up here at the top, where the henna color is, and I'm going to be careful not to push any of this color into the negative space that we want to leave white. So I'm just going to stay nice and clear away from it. And with this blender, I'm going to focus on the transition areas between the henna and the raspberry first. Careful again to stay away from the Tuscan red areas in order to keep that color from being pulled upwards. So again, just nice tight circular strokes in between the henna and the raspberry, just kind of bring these two together a little bit. And then I'll do the exact same in the transition areas between raspberry and Tuscan red, again keeping those circles nice and tight. Now I want to darken up the bottom edge here just a little bit, so I'm going to try this espresso color and see if it gives me that look that I need. All right, let's do another one together. And we're going to keep with the theme of the negative space, and on most areas it'll be pretty transparent where that negative space should be. But there are going to be areas on the mountain as you cover the huge amount of space across this double spread where the location of that negative space won't be so apparent. So just use your imagination, use your best judgment. You know, let the shape of the mountain and the lines that the artist gave you really guide you here. And don't be afraid to go dark in the areas, again, where the artist gave us those hash lines, as once it's all blended out and you'll see the page as a whole, it looks really good. So again, don't be afraid to go pretty dark here. And speaking of dark, I'm not really getting the kind of dark that I need using this espresso color. So I'm going to actually switch that out to something with a little more kick, which is this warm gray 90%. And I'll use it in much the same way as I did the espresso, but I think it'll just read a little bit darker. And the warm gray really complements these pinky reds. And again, I'm just going to use nice tight circular strokes over the areas where the artist gave us these hash marks. All right, I'm liking that a lot more. So now that we've done a few together, I'm going to speed this up just so you can see kind of the progress as I go. Now, I really liked the idea of doing these mountains in these pinky red colors. I have a bad habit of being a bit too predictable in my color choices. I usually go very classic, very expected. So I kind of have to force myself out of the box to do the unexpected. And I thought the mountains would be a great place to do that. Now, don't ask me how I arrived at this particular color palette, these pinky reds. Sometimes I use an inspiration palette that I find online or in a photo, but sometimes these things just come to me. And for some reason, these mountains were speaking pinky red. And now that we have a few minutes to chat, I'm just going to let you know in full transparency, I haven't actually finished this page yet. I really like this Imagimorphia book. It's creative and challenging and goofy and a lot of good things, but it's also very intricate. It's full of double spreads that take a very, very long time to complete. And so it's pretty challenging actually to create videos for you guys in a timely manner. So while I'm really enjoying this book, it might actually end up being one that I pull out just kind of once in a while, especially since I know you guys much prefer seeing my stuff in real time so that you can follow along. So in the next few weeks, I'm actually going to try to focus on the methodologies I use in coloring instead of trying to complete specific full pages. I think this is what you guys will probably get more out of anyway, as I'm sure you're coming to my channel to learn some new stuff, just not to watch me kind of color and babble. So look for some new methods and technique videos throughout the next few weeks. Here's how the mountains all came out in the end. Now, there were about 1.5 million of them, and every time I thought I'd gotten them all, I'd find another one hiding between some buildings or something. And all in all, these mountains probably took me about 4 hours over 2 evenings. Yep, just to do the mountains. All right, on to the next part of our page. And speaking of non-traditional color palette, let's go wild and crazy again and do these wispy clouds in yellow. And these Crayola yellows are going to be just the ticket. I think they'll pair very well with the pinky reds and add a light and airy quality to our clouds. Now in the main kind of open areas of the clouds, meaning where the artist doesn't have those hash marks, I'll place down a foundational layer of this light and pastel, unmellow yellow, and then I'll build around it with other more vibrant yellows. This daffodil yellow is a great medium yellow, which will bridge our gap between the super light ones that I'll be using and then kind of the darker, more vibrant ones that I'll be adding in a minute. Now I'll add 2 darker colors, yellow and golden yellow, both Crayola, in the areas where the artist gave us those kind of detail lines, those hash lines, and in some of the folds and crevices created by our puffy clouds. And here's how they all came out in the end. And I really like the way that this yellow plays off of our pinky red mountains. Okay, onto the trees and bushes and foliage around the pages. Ignoring the fact that I already revealed the end picture to you guys, any guesses as to what our wild and crazy color will be for these? Green! Wait, what, green? Yes, maybe we're deviating now into more of the expected color range for trees and foliage, but that's okay. I think if we went too unexpected with each area of our page, it might look a little bit too cartoonish. So we're going to go back to classic green on the trees and this will just serve to ground this place in a little bit of reality. So I've pulled a couple of colors that I think will pop against our palette and will cover a wide range of greens that I'll have to draw from. So starting with palm leaf, we're going to place this down kind of randomly across the surface of our tree. And since this is a light, bright color, we're going to try to put this in places where we think the sunlight would be hitting, since it wouldn't make sense to focus a lot of that light color where our shadows would be. Next, we'll go in with lime peel, which is a bit darker and more of a dull green than the previous. It's actually one of my favorites. And we're going to place this down around the surface face of the tree as well. And random is just fine. Don't think too hard about this. Kind of all comes out in the end. Now we'll use peacock green, which is a jump to a color on the darker side of the spectrum, but that's okay, that's what we want. Going to be blending this out, and so it'll all kind of, again, come together in the end. And we're going to focus this in the areas where the artist has either left us those detail hash lines or in areas where we think that the upper branches of our trees might be shadowing the lower branches. So again, using light pressure and the feathering techniques I've been showing you guys, we're going to keep this very light and natural. Now I kind of want this to be a bit darker, so I'm going to add my new favorite color, Crayola's Outer Space. One of the most versatile pencils I've ever come across. In its natural habitat, this outer space color is a dark navy blue, but if you place it over a darker green that you've already put down, it actually tends to read as a darker green. It's kind of a chameleon color and I just love it. So I'm going to focus this in just a few places. I don't really want to overwhelm the peacock green, only kind of contribute towards it. So we'll be careful with where we use this and kind of just put this in the areas that we want the shadow to be the darkest. And now we'll blend it all together. And I'm okay with our trees getting a little bit muddy, so I'm not going to be too careful about the colors bleeding into other areas like I did on the mountains. All right, let's do one more together, and I'm going to add in an extra color on this one, this medium green Crayola fern. If you use all the same greens on all the trees across the whole double spread, it could end up looking just a little bit one note, so if you throw in some other greens once in a while, just to kind of keep it looking a bit random and more natural. So let's speed this up now and finish out our trees, bushes, and foliage. This was definitely another area where I kept thinking I was done with them, only to find more hiding, so keep your pencils handy as you go through this page. And voila! Here is our page as it sits right now. Mountains, clouds, and trees all done. Now currently this is kind of as far as I've gotten. I'm actually in the middle of doing the buildings, but it's very tedious and kind of slow going. There's lots and lots of detail and small areas across these pages. Again, it's a wonderful book, but lots of patience is required for this one. And I really wanted to finish this and kind of get it out for you guys. Alright, I hope you enjoyed today's tutorial. If you did, do me a huge favor and hit that like button. It helps new folks find my channel and also lets me know that you guys are enjoying the content. Also, if you're new, please consider subscribing to PencilStash and hit the notification bell to know when I've uploaded new content. Lots more tutorials too on my channel, so be sure to check those out, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!